Okay, my presentation is called Horse First Profitability. And I just want to start by thanking all of you for trusting me with your time and, in many cases, financial resources and making the effort to be a part of this event. Thank you to all the attendees and especially my clients who have really, trusted me with your resources and time. Thank you to the speakers. Thank you to Meg for that presentation, Eric Schneider, Nisha Renee, Connor Wolf, David Reichert, Dickie Osborne, Nikki Hall, and Jamie Samples. Thank you guys for making the huge effort. Thank you to my team, Josh, Tina, Meg, also to Ranjit, Fair, and Dabir, who are not here. Thank you to Dwight for setting up all this tech, filming all these presentations so people can watch them at a later date. Thank you to Brooke Goodman. Where's Brooke? Is Brooke here, or did she not make it? Okay, so Brooke Goodman is supposed to be here and provide media coverage for the Plaid Horse. So it means a lot that you all think this is valuable enough to travel from all over the country and be here. It's super motivating for my team and I to try to get better. And these events, we get off Zoom and we try to get better. So I'm going to cover what is horse first profitability and why it's important, how to set horse first constraints, and then we're going to maximize growth and profitability and introduce our new program, Next Level Horse Businesses CFO. So our mission statement is that profitability should never come at the horse's expense. We help riding schools thrive while ensuring horses receive the care, rest, and retirement they deserve, creating sustainable businesses and compassionate horse owners. Our mission, horse first profitability, that supports both people and horses. So the 4 pillars of horse first profitability that I think you need to consider before we maximize revenue and profits is your horse usage. So horse workloads are monitored and adjusted for their age and fitness. Whether you're schooling or showing, horses are used responsibly, never overworked, never sacrificed for competitive results. So I'll give you guys all the slides, so you don't need to take pictures or anything like that. I'll give you guys all the slides. Horse care. Horses receive the proper feed, farrier, vet care they need to be healthy and happy. Student education, I think, may be the most important one. So students are educated to value and protect the welfare of horses, ensuring responsible care and stewardship for the future. So you guys are probably the most critical component of horse welfare, I think, in the entire horse ecosystem. And maybe the most important impact you guys are having is, between everybody in this room, you're creating an army of people to help us care for the approximate 7 million horses that are out there. And then 4, we really need to do a better job of horse life cycle journey and planning and ensure that every horse's full life is accounted for. So proper horse usage is that you adjust their workload and competition management carefully. And so our new Impulsion software upgrade is going to track horse assignment and create reports, so that you can get detailed reports of everything this horse did. You can add everything about it, like when it saw the vet, when it saw the farrier, when it had a schooling ride versus a beginner lesson ride. So you can kind of calculate, at least scientifically, okay, this horse has had nothing but 50 beginner rides, no trainer's gotten on it. Okay, this poor thing's probably fried. Or, this horse hasn't taught a lesson in the last 6 months. And so the new Impulsion upgrade should be ready this year. We'll track all that. And, David Reichert has an innovative horse first competition concept that we can talk about. And, improper horse usage, obviously, and Andy Coker was suspended for using electric spurs. I think he was disqualified from FEI events, still running his show jumping business and horse auctions and clinics, and he's facing 2 counts of inadequate care of animals. I couldn't find a statement of apology. He alleges the device was a clicker, But I just wanted to find a few examples because it's not just the right thing to do, but horse sports, horse industry, definitely at risk of being canceled. We definitely have lots of examples of people that understandably are putting profits and competition results above horse welfare. And if we don't talk about it and do something about it, not only the horses suffer, but the whole industry could get canceled. I'm definitely not going to lecture you guys about horse care, but let you know that in my research, when you find improper horse care, it's not usually because people, hate animals. It's usually economic hardship when you really see the bad situations rather than bad intentions. And we're going to let you, easily track horse care as one part of trying to help that pillar. Student education, shout out to Nikki Hall and McCrell Beyer, who we partner with. I think that's really critical, what you choose to implement for your curriculum and your lesson plans and how you bring people along. Probably the biggest impact you guys are going to have if you want to be a positive force for horse welfare. And then horse life cycle. We're not doing a good job of accounting for this one. So if you guys want to leave, you can. I'm going to show you in graphic detail what happens if you don't plan this. So honestly, leave if you don't want to see a Mexican slaughterhouse.
What was his name? We don't know. The US government gave him the number 5036 before he was loaded into a truck and sent to slaughter. Did you know you can't sell horse meat in the US since 2007? You may be surprised that, despite this ban, in 2021, nearly 24,000 American horses were sent to Mexico and Canada to be killed and eaten. 5036 is one of them. We don't know when he was born, but he was killed on November 8, 2022. The day after this video was taken. We find 5036 and other U.S. horses in the slaughterhouse, Cárnicas de Jerez, corrals in Zacatecas, Mexico. This company exports the meat from these animals to Russia, China, Vietnam, and Japan. Our undercover investigators have managed to enter this place where they met 5036. How did he end up here? We don't know where or how his story starts. But these documents prove that this slaughterhouse receives horses from an auction in Bowie, Texas. They breed them for ranching, horse riding, or other purposes. When someone can gain some money selling them, they end up in auctions like this one. Horses from this auction are transported for 8 hours across Texas in a truck with many others, cross the border into Mexico in Nuevo Laredo, and travel another 8 hours until the slaughterhouse in Zacatecas, Mexico. After 16 hours in a truck, without food or rest, scared and exhausted, the journey for 5036 was likely painful. Horses must hold their heads down for many hours on a long trip in a vehicle designed to transport animals with shorter necks. They are also subjected to extreme temperatures without adequate food. A 2021 study on horse welfare analyzed horses' health in a total of 113 trucks, including those imported from the United States into Mexico. It found that 8 out of 10 horses were bruised. On average, each horse had 2 bruises, and almost half were severe or very severe. 5036 is hours away from being killed. This yellow seal, put by the Department of Agriculture of the United States, reveals that he comes from the U.S. 5036's life ends in this slaughterhouse. He doesn't stand a chance. Many American horses end up in other slaughterhouses in Mexico, like this one located in Arriaga in the Mexican state of Chiapas. Animal equality investigators are there to document the final moments of these animals. These horses are severely malnourished and exhausted. Many can't even stand up. Some hung from chains and then hoisted, asphyxiating them until they die. This is completely illegal. The slaughterers give them electric shocks to force them to move and stun them. Sometimes they use pressurized water against their face too. A practice banned for horses but common in this slaughterhouse. There is no veterinarian around. They apply an electric current onto his neck and head for over 30 seconds. And then, he is shot multiple times. This is cruel and violates Mexican regulations. In 2007, the US government made it illegal to sell horse meat in the US. Still, nearly 24,000 American horses continue to be killed in other slaughterhouses in Mexico and Canada every year. 5036 is one of them. The government must protect these animals and ban their transport for slaughter in other countries. Today, you have the power to end this. Congress will soon decide whether to pass a law that would not only ban the killing of horses within the US, but would also ban the export of horses like 5036 from being killed for meat abroad. Please sign our petition to ask the US government to end the slaughter of American horses.
So as far as Mexican, I spoke with some horse slaughter people, and as far as Mexican slaughterhouses go, if you have a horse that's going to a Mexican slaughterhouse, that would be one of the really good ones. So it's, I won't even tell you what the normal practice is there. That was, you know, definitely one of the better ones compared to talking to somebody that actually is in the business of horse slaughter and exporting horse slaughter and visits them. So, you know, over 120,000 horses were exported for horse slaughter in the last 5 years that we know about. So that number is definitely bigger. Hard to say how much bigger the number is. And then who here can really say that none of those 120,000 horses were horses that you guys knew, right? Or it was one of your horses. But even if it wasn't any horse you knew or one of your horses, it's still pretty bad. Like it's not like, oh, I can breathe a sigh of relief because one of those 120, I mean, they're still horses. So unfortunately, I don't think my riding instructors are here, Kat and Grace. They just bought these two horses from an auction recently near Frederick. And I gave them my credit card, and I moved to London recently, and I'm running my riding school from London. And so I gave her my credit card. I'm like, pick whatever you want to teach on. And like, how fun is it if you're 19, like, and that's your job, is to go find some horses that you want to teach on. And so they found these two. It's a dun and a red roan. I'm like, these are gorgeous horses. They bought them for $8,800 out the door, the two of them, on my credit card, and just sort of sent me this. I got a little notification like, are you trying to spend money at this thing? You know, and I'm like, in London, I'm like, yeah, what did you get, Kat? And they got these two horses, you know, and also shout out to David Reichert. He buys all of his lesson horses, approximately 50, exclusively from Texas auctions. So buying from a Maryland auction is nice. I think buying from a Texas or, you know, an auction near Mexico, even better. So the SAFE Act obviously is the most controversial, divided bill in the horse industry. We passed, you know, it used to be you could slaughter horses in the U.S. and my contact in the horse slaughter, you know, told me that when she was 12, her parents made her go to a horse slaughter. She said it was very humane. You know, it was one bolt in the head. It wasn't that different than taking her horse or your dog to the vet to be euthanized. And they handed her a check for $5,000 because the cost per meat at that time was something like 80 cents a pound. Don't quote me on these numbers, but it was higher. So you guys, if you guys are in this, you should know what the cost per meat is right now. and how that impacts things. And you can calculate what the kill rate is because they're going to get whatever that is per meat. Horses are 1,200 pounds, and they have to, pay shipping on that cost. You can kind of calculate. You should know the economics of the kill buyer, and it's kind of cool to, again, all the ways that horse schools help horses. If you're aware of that, and every now and then you're outbidding kill buyers, so it never passes. And the horse industry itself is so divided on this. Most people don't support the, half the people do, half the people don't even support this bill to prevent what's happening there. The reason why is not because horse people are okay with what you just saw, but it's because that they believe that the bill doesn't have any sort of compensation, meaning, well, those $100,000 horses, obviously, what people do is they dump them on federal land, they turn them loose on the freeway, they just let them starve to death, they overwhelm the rescues. The rescues are already operating at capacity. So a lot of the critics of the bill just say, like, because the bill as it stands today and all the iterations of it, and I'm not that well versed in all of the different iterations and exactly what parts of the government it's stuck in, but the overwhelming reaction is that there's not anything in it that says it also includes, $200 million of funding for humane euthanasia and rescues. It doesn't have any of that. And when I talked to people, they said the biggest problem is the rescues are 15 years behind cat and dog rescues in terms of professionalization and sophistication. They operate on napkins, and so you can't, there is a ton of money out there for rescues. There's a ton. You've got ASPCA, you've got Humane Society, you have some big organizations that you could pitch, but most of our infrastructure has no record keeping. So again, to motivate my team, the work that we're trying to do, could have a positive impact on horses. So when you think about life cycle planning, consider euthanasia, consider leasing versus selling. If you are selling, yes, you can say, you can't sell this horse again, you can't sell this horse to an auction. A lot of that's unenforceable. Once that horse leaves, you know what I mean? You might give yourself a big pat on the back that you put that in the contract. You still could have been one of those $100,000 horses that ends up in Mexico at some point. I know Nikki is a big proponent of using retired horses in unmounted classes. You could lease them to a walk-only therapeutic riding center, which again, it doesn't eliminate the risk that they're going to go, but leasing is definitely safer. We're starting to look at in-house lesson horse retirement solutions, and the feasibility of somebody like me or any of you just turning one of your fields, putting round bales in there and some water, and having a vet come once a quarter. The cost for a lot of us to even lease just a field and actually retire these horses, it might only be like $10,000 to $25,000 a year for 10 horses. Incorporating as a 501c3 costs you $1,000, and then you honestly could just fundraise that with your own clients. You could also hit up the ASPCA, you could hit up the Human Animal Bond Research, you could hit up the Equus Foundation, you could hit up the Banfield Foundation, you could hit up the Humane Society, Forever Home Funds, and find $25,000 a year, and just be like, okay, I'll keep them here and then euthanize them myself when the time is right. So we should factor all those things before I get to the next part, which is how to actually be profitable. Because if you don't put those constraints in place first, we all want to make money, and it has to move hand in hand because not just because it's the right thing to do, but because the horse industry is also at risk of being canceled. So I think that the economic profitability of these things and horse welfare have to move forward together. So what we really teach is constant and never-ending improvement around your category, your facility, your pricing terms and conditions, your sales and marketing, your software, your curriculum, and your team as primary categories, and then also your, I think your financial side of things, which would include your banking, your bookkeeping, your taxes, your payroll, your insurance. That should be another category listing here. And we like to work with riding school owners who want horse-first profitability in their businesses. And so shout out to Josh, who spends many, many, many hours and has been aligned with our mission from the get-go, you know. And so he spends a lot of time screening through applicants and enrolling people that are good fits. And so we've got 3 different programs. We've got Up-Level, we've got Quantum, and then we have CFO, which we're introducing today. And a lot of you guys have been through Up-Level. Raise your hand if you've been through Up-Level, just so I can understand. Okay. So you get one-on-one coaching. It's about $5,800 for 4 months. Oftentimes we help you guys build a custom website in that program. And the way that we generally approach it, and if you guys follow this roadmap, it's very carefully designed, where we start with the business blueprint so you can see exactly what you're trying to do. We make number 2 accepting credit cards. Who's here has moved to accepting credit cards? Yeah, so we found that to be important. We teach you just sort of what we call like beginner Facebook ads. Super powerful. I remember Aaron Rayner went through this program pretty well, step by step, and just crushed. Then you put in just get your first iteration of a true curriculum, a gamified system, kind of like karate, where your kids get certificates, they get some sort of token of recognition, transparent milestones. Nikki Hall has, you know, most people who raise your hand if you use Horse Sense learning levels from Nikki Hall. Yeah. So she created a really great curriculum that a lot of people find easy to implement and ready to go. After you've got sort of new subscription-based pricing and you've got new people enrolling in it, you give your old clients a polite take it or leave it, and most people end up adding, you know, 10 new subscriptions, which most people that we work with weren't charging membership pricing at a premium price point that everybody told me, like, no one in my area is going to play this, and then they're like, okay, they paid it, I was wrong. And then after that, we usually like to work with people for about a year, charge about $9,800, and we oftentimes, you know, really, really strongly encourage you to hire a virtual assistant. And so generally speaking, that's almost step 1, is hiring a virtual assistant and fully implement our software, which allows you to kind of step up your client communications, step up your marketing, because you now can collect emails and phone numbers. It allows you to do online signature. It allows you to do online scheduling, online invoicing. So you kind of, you sort of need something like that to get to the next step. It's not step 1, right? It's really like step 7. And then we like to install a more sophisticated marketing campaign where you're collecting emails and phone numbers and you're auto SMSing everybody. Right now, today, most clients prefer interacting via SMS. So we kind of move everything to SMS. Every month, you know, when you're really advertising, you're getting about 7 new emails and phone numbers a day. And so every month, after a while, should have 1,000 email and phone numbers. And so the software allows you to send 1,000 SMSs at once. That's like, hey, are you still interested in booking a riding lesson? And so then you can really win that. And then you need to really learn how to build a team. And that's kind of what Quantum is about. And there's a lot to that. Connor's going to talk more about building a team. I'm really looking forward to hearing that. And you really need to have not just a intro 1 lesson a week offer. You got to have the 2 lesson a week show team and the half lease, and then the maybe full board and partial training and full board, full training offers. So you really have that staircase of offers, and you need to know how to meet with your clients and upgrade them when appropriate and make it really easy for them to upgrade. And so we take people through that step by step. And if you implement all 10 steps in UpLevel and Quantum, you should have aggressive growth, a team and systems in place. And so I'm really happy with that process. And the people that execute well, generally speaking, get some pretty good results. We're also using this as an opportunity to be really critical of how we could improve our sort of process that we put people through and what's missing. And there's actually a lot missing to ultimately get you guys where you want to be. So if you've done it correctly, you've got something like this all the way through where people can click, use online signature, pay, enroll, get an onboarding email telling them everything they need and scheduling. So you've sort of automated all of that and crystallized it, right? Because a lot of your clients are ready to go, and you guys don't even have really like something to sell them, right? They're like, I want to do this, and just send me the link. So part of it is like just being ready to go. And really, the 6 things I like to see is you've got some horse first constraints in place, and you've thought about horse usage, horse care, student education, life cycle planning, and you've got a crystal clear blueprint and mission statement, values, and all of the really, really great things that Meg talked about and preaches and spends all day trying to hammer into our clients' heads that are super important. You've got a documented, gamified curriculum, and you're working with Nikki Hall. You've got your own ideas. You've got systemized goal-setting meetings, and so your clients are being asked to upgrade in a highly productive way. And then you know how to build a team. You know what job boards to post on. You know what you can pay. You know how to manage them. You've got meetings. You've got trainings. You know when to fire them and how to fire them. You know how to manage them. And Connor, I'm really looking forward to him throwing his 2 cents in there. And so you've got a tight little team you can go to war with. Or in my case, that you can travel the world and feel comfortable, and knock on wood, they can run things for you. You've got a reliable system for getting new clients with Facebook ads, and a well thought out presentation to close them. So you're running ads to get, generally speaking, an evaluation lesson. And then the evaluation lesson, you've got a really good presentation after that to enroll people into a subscription. So you've got that. And then you've fully implemented your software and automated and streamlined everything you can. So you've got, a dedicated customer support center, and that's off your plate. That's huge, because so much of your guys's of the riding instructor experience is scheduling, invoicing, bill pay, makeups, and you're like, we really are trying to help you guys make it so 80% of your time and energy is teaching lessons, riding horses, buying and selling horses, or having like a real conversation with your clients about their goals. If it's not one of those things, we as a company need to figure out a way to somehow train you to get it totally off your plate, because that's stuff that, we really need to figure out. And we still hear too many of our clients are still too bogged down with stuff that's not one of those 4 things. So once you have those foundations in place, and you're like, okay, I want to grow fast, what I recommend you do is boil it down to what is your cost to acquire an intro lesson. So usually what happens is when I spend $100 on ads, like clockwork, I get 10 emails and phone numbers, like clockwork. One of them enrolls and pays me $75 for an intro lesson, like clockwork, and I've now lost $25 because I spent 100 and I only got 75 back. So on a little bit bigger scale, if I spend $1,000, I usually get $750 back in intro lessons alone. So I lose $250. However, I, like clockwork, get 3 new subscriptions at $350 a month. And then if the upgrade thing is right, actually one of them kind of goes into a $699 a month program. And so the end result is I spent $1,000 and I got $750 in intros. I got $700 in my bronze package and $699 for my silver package, which means I spent $1,000 and I got back over $2,000 in the first month alone. But I also have $1,399 a month in indefinite subscription revenue. So I want to be aware of my retention and how long those people stay before they cancel. But if you have all the fundamentals in place, you've created a machine in your business where every dollar you spend, you get $2 back in 30 days. Do you guys realize how crazy that is? I was talking to Chris, who's in private equity, and a lot of investors are happy to get a 10% return over 12 months, right? So that means you put $1 in, and then at the end of 12 months, you have $1.10. And a lot of people think that's great. Now, most of you that we've worked with for a long time, when we review your numbers, they're very close to what I just said. So you guys know this. And almost every day, somebody from my team is making you calculate and recalculate this, and it usually doesn't register in your heads. It just doesn't. You're not built that way. And usually we run through these numbers, these exact numbers with our clients, and they say, because they told us, my Facebook ads don't work. And we look at these numbers, we calculate it, and we're like, and so I turned them off. And we're like, I did this at the last event, and I lost a client because I really embarrassed him on this presentation. I took his actual numbers, who had this exact same conversation where he turned his ads off and he told me my system doesn't work. And I'm like, all right, let me review your results. And they were actually better than this. And he's like, I turned it off because the experience of this is brutal. Because look at how many people told you you're crazy and how many Facebook comments you got that so they're like, I'm getting Facebook comments, I'm getting rude comments. People are telling me that it's unethical for me to charge $75 for a lesson. This system doesn't work. I hate it. The emotional pain was just too great. Give me something different. But I look at the math and I'm like, you've got a machine. Every dollar you spend, you get $2 back in 30 days and $1.40 a month ongoing. So how much money, forget the emotional pain, how much money would you put into a machine that does just that? It's a money printing machine. So the obvious answer is as much as you could possibly get your hands on. But the correct answer is as much as possible, and I'll tell you what's possible. Because you can't put $1 million into this machine and get $2 million back in 30 days. Because the machine has constraints. So the constraints are, the way I look at it is how many intro lessons are really available in a week, right? So you might have 10 available intro lessons in a week. And if you know that it costs $100 to fill an intro lesson, then you should spend $1,000 a week in ads and fill every single one. That's how you should be thinking about growth, okay? There is some benefit to spending more than $1,000 a week because you can build a waiting list, but you can't spend exponentially more than $1,000 a week in this money-making machine, in this example with this level of constraints. So shout out to Eric Schneider, who's going to talk, I think next, right, Meg? Yeah. So I love working with Eric because a lot of my clients, I'm the one that is maybe more financially ambitious than you guys, where I'm like, guys, you could grow faster. A lot of my clients are thrilled with growing at what they consider to be a pretty good pace. Eric is the most ambitious person. That's why it's important, I think, to have horse first constraints, because as long as those are met, then the more growth you have, I believe the bigger positive impact you're having, as long as you have proper horse first constraints. And then he's the guy that's like, why are we only doing 10, getting 10 new clients a week? And I loved hearing that, because a lot of my clients are like, 40 new clients a month, that's phenomenal. Eric's like, how come we're not doing like 50, 100 new clients a week? And so I have to say, well, our instructors are all full. And he's like, well, hire another instructor. And I'm like, yep, you're right. Now we can do 40 new clients a week. And, but we're out of lesson horses. Well, why are we out of lesson horses? We need to go to a local auction or something and get some more. Well, solve that constraint. So guys like Eric that really understand growth are going to, your three things that allow you to open up that availability is instructors, arena times, and horses. So you want to be careful not to have too many of those things because they cost money. So most people want to kind of carefully open up as much availability as they can, and then so there's a cost for growth, because now you're spending $4,000 a week on ads to fill 40 intro spots that are available, but the economics of that are actually really good. And again, it assumes that you know how to advertise, which is a big assumption, and we spend a lot of time teaching you guys how to advertise. Shout out to Dickie Osborne. My constraint right now in my program is I need one more small arena. And so he's helping me, and he has an online course that you can put your local contractor through, and he's available for very affordable consulting, or he'll come and build your arena himself, but builds really nice arenas, and there's so much to building an arena. Raise your hand if you've built the arena the wrong way at some point. It's more expensive because you tried to save money. So we want to give you guys the resources. The other thing that's missing out from our program is really teaching you guys, or better yet, just dropping lesson horses off at your farms, how to find lesson horses and how to sell the ones that aren't good fits. We're not great at helping you do that. So a lot of you guys are like, it's one of these three things. I think we're getting pretty good at helping you hiring riding instructors. Could be better. I don't think we're as great about helping you build arenas or buy great lesson horses, sell the horses that aren't right. Because if you were really good at doing those things fast, then you open up that capacity and you can grow faster. So you're limited by these three things. And so what makes the math even better is if you have better creative, better videos, better images, better storytelling, then your cost to acquire a client goes down even more. And so Nisha has a whole presentation on how to do that. A lot of you guys have done quite well with really crappy pictures, really crappy copy, really crappy videos, and you guys do pretty well. You do even better if you have great video, great images, high resolution. You're doing it around a story. You know what the algorithm likes. And so Nisha is going to talk about that. And then, those of you that are really running the form-based ads, you're collecting emails and phone numbers. And Jamie Samples is another marketing person. She's going to talk about email marketing. So if you have, none of you guys are doing email marketing. So you have all these emails, you should send them an email twice a week. And you guys have all those functionality in Impulsion. You could just write them all, plug it into a system, hit a button, and every email you contact for the rest of your life will get emailed twice a week forever. And that's going to drive more sales. Like, is it going to drive more or less sales? It's going to drive more sales. So your cost to acquire a client goes down even more. And so, and if you offer everybody the option to pay for an entire year of lessons for 15% less than what it would cost if they just do, $350 a month, 12 times, maybe 10% of people go for that, depending on the way that it's presented and the skill. None of us are good enough with the presentation afterwards. It can be quite a bit higher than that if you actually have a salesperson presenting this option. You do those three things. First of all, the math is just fine the way it is. You do those three things, the math gets even better. So introducing Next Level Horse Business's CFO, again, with being really critical about what our up-level and quantum programs are doing for clients and still celebrating. Raise your hand if you've gotten good results from up-level or quantum. So we're celebrating what we've done. We're not too hard on ourselves, but have we really eliminated the headache? Are you guys really wildly profitable while traveling the world and able to step away? There's my riding instructor, Kat, my director, just walked in, who picked up the roan and the dun from the auction, put it on my credit card, and who runs my riding school while I'm in London, and it has grown a lot, and I haven't heard too many complaints. There's the same amount of headaches that would have happened, with clients, I believe, if I was there. And so, that's our promise to you guys, is that you can own a profitable riding school that has a mega positive impact on horse welfare. You can actually own multiple of them, and they are quite profitable. No horse is being exploited, and the bookkeeping, the taxes, the contract, the legal work, these are all things that I want off your plate. The payroll, the hiring, I want to talk to Kat about, was it a fluke? That are those horses, Kat? How long have we had those 2 horses you got from the auction? 2 weeks. Okay, so still too early to Whitney's skeptical that they don't have major holes in them for what we paid. She's right to be, because a lot of our clients are having a hard time finding quality animals for less than 15,000, which makes the economics difficult. So I want to talk to Kat and be like, could we have picked up like 5 horses at that auction and dropped them off for you guys? So put her number, connect them. We got a lot of people that, if you had a return policy and be like, hey, let me drop off a horse for you for 30 days, that would help you guys. So we want to help you guys more than just providing advice. So our next iteration of that is for 10 quantum people, I'll do your taxes and your bookkeeping and your blueprints and your quarterly financial reports and tax estimates and filing, still give you access to the quantum group calls, and implement better banking systems. And I'll charge you $4,800 one-time fee and then $497 a month. I do love RelayFi bank accounts, but they're not necessary. But you do need QuickBooks or Xero, which most of you guys already have. And I'll set up your books and your chart of accounts and connect all your systems to it, catch up on any backlog. And then I'll make your blueprint. So having an external person do it, like me, you guys probably aren't seeing. I started doing this for a few people, and I'll start by reviewing the business plan that you guys created, and I'll show you how, on paper, you make even more. There's a saying like, everybody can get rich on Excel, but I don't think that's true. I've seen a lot of horse trainers that can't even get rich on Excel. So let me look at that and let me show you how you get rich on Excel, right? Where I'm like, if you had 250 lessons a week and you had 27 lesson horses that you paid X for, that cost you $452 a month each in havings and hay, and they require $4,200 a month in stable management care, and you pay your riding instructors 28% of the revenue, you're left with a $17,200 a month profit, and I'll build that out for you after you show me what you thought you were going to do. To set those clear goals, then we'll set up cash flow systems and do quarterly performance reports and, forecast for 12 months and make sure you have the right entity structure. Was just talking to Chris about how if you're ambitious and you're organized as a C Corp, which none of you are, okay, except for Lauren, you can sell a C Corp assuming that it qualifies for qualified small business stock, which horseback riding schools might. And again, you had good books. After 5 years, you can sell a C Corp tax-free, meaning like if you guys actually build a business that somebody like Chris would want to buy and it was worth the real estate and everything, grew from, to be worth 5 million, 10 million bucks, you can sell it tax-free. The loopholes in the tax code are all for investors and entrepreneurs. So, what we'll do in CFO for a current maximum, I have bandwidth to do it for 10 quantum people, is we'll create the fully optimized business blueprint. I can take into account all of your actual expenses and revenue in real time and get you my take on the ways that you can save money. I did this for another client and I increased their revenue by $30,000 a month and I decreased their expenses by $30,000 a month in 6 months. And I will save you money on taxes. That's almost a promise. I've seen the way you guys file. And I'll keep you guys fully compliant with beautiful books. And that's gonna open doors to get loans. There's a lot of lenders out there. I hear that all the time, like, oh, it's so hard to get a loan. And same thing, I always ask, well, what are you doing to try to get a loan? Who have you asked? I had a client send me a text like, good news, I'm signing papers on Monday for a $600,000 line of credit with 0% interest. And I was like, that's gonna solve almost all of your problems. Just to be thorough, can you send me and my analysis is that it was a complete scam. Well, we won't know for sure, but it was, you send us $15,000 first as a escrow fee, and then we'll send you $600,000. And the lender had just created their website. You can look at how long a website was created in July. The website, the lender had a very similar name to a legitimate lender. The paperwork, a little iffy. And so then I'm like, I gotta show you guys, so I sent them a list of like 10 legitimate lenders, but even still, I should just get the loan for this guy. There's a ton of lenders out there. So I need to open the door and figure this out for you guys. And not only that, as a 501c3, there's tons of money out there for you guys too. Tons. Like at a minimum, I can help you create a 501c3. It's not hard. And turn that old field across the street, rent it, and get some donations, and then put 10 of your retired lesson horses in there, have them do some unmounted classes here and there, euthanize them when the time is right. So our unique differentiators, we're constantly going through Meg's traction process. We know riding schools, and we deliver horse-first profitability. The live event specials, if you guys do want to do up-level, those of you that have never worked for us, it's 50% off this event. It's 50% off Quantum. So if you want a year of one-on-one coaching, it's only $4,900 at this event. You can add this on to existing coaching. If you guys want to add, another 4 months to your thing, like if you're in Quantum and you want to add 4 months today, you could pay $2,900. If you want to add a full year, you could add, for only $4,900. if you're in quantum or a graduate of quantum and you want me to be your CFO, it's only $2,400 one time, and then it's only $40.97 a month. And that includes all bookkeeping and all tax planning and tax preparation. So if you want to do one of those things, you could see me, Josh, Tina, or Meg anytime next 2 days. There's no rush. We can talk about any details. And I really appreciate your guys' time. What questions do you guys have? Yeah. That all, like I said, but a nonprofit and all of you guys can use it. I'm open to that. I'm open to that. Yeah, and there's so many there's already too many nonprofits, so you guys can easily partner with a nonprofit, and what they'll do is, it's a little dangerous. I've had a bad experience doing this, but what they'll do is you can fundraise, and they will put that money in a separate segregated account, and they'll keep 10%, and then they'll send you the 90% for your rescue. So you can do that today, and I can give you a list of 400 riding schools or nonprofits that are wanting to be that partner already. So I could do it and do that for you guys, but there's already an active list of 400 nonprofits. I set this up for another client that didn't want to set up their own 501c3, and so they partnered with an existing one. I helped them secure a 7-figure grant that this nonprofit is happy to let sit in a separate bank account, I hope. And the nonprofit is very happy to keep, $100,000 for themselves for the trouble of doing this, and then send my client over $900,000 that they use for their charitable purposes. So we can look at what makes sense for any of you guys. If you want to do your own, if you want to partner with one, if you think I should make one for all of you, that's all. I'm open for all that. Any other questions? Yeah.
If you have a program and there's certain things that you want to still keep in the program, how much do you have to compromise the things that are important to you in order to be able to fit in your rubric of in your?
Yeah. What's important to you that's not incorporated in what you perceive to be my business model?
So, like, for example, it's important to me to make sure that before I put a student in a saddle with reins, I want to make sure that they've got that one-on-one with their balance and all that stuff, and then they're ready to go into an independent
Yeah.
seat.
So you perceive that I'm telling people to let your clients jerk them in the teeth on day one?
No. What I'm saying is that the models that I've seen in this start all their students out in saddles with reins, but not necessarily doing it
Yeah.
the one,
Kat, do you start our clients like in reins, jerking on their teeth?
No, so most of our lessons go mainly balance with the core and the leg. We take the reins away from them so that they understand the mechanics of how to move the horses off and on with their legs, and also the difference between what it feels if you were to look a certain way and how your body weight shifts. Just all of the
Yeah.
mechanics of actual riding before we give them the reins, because kids can just pull back their feet
Yeah.
and not feeling balance if you don't give them that opportunity to feel what it's like to be balanced to not be balanced.
So I'm so glad you asked that question, because I think that's a common misperception that if you do a lot of lessons, you can't do them well. And that's where Nikki's curriculum or having a curriculum and making those decisions as like a format. So you're not just victim to whoever you hire and whatever they think. You've got a documented curriculum for your instructors that we do start people on balance before we do reins. Any other questions? Yeah.
So you're talking about school horses and going to these cells that's sending these horses to the slaughter. So would I be better off going to a cell, picking up a few of these little cheaper horses, keeping them for 30, 60 days, making sure they work for the program, and what do I do with them when they don't work for the program?
Great question.
But then they just end up back at the slaughter pen.
Right. Right. Great question. Great question. And again, you know, I want to have that discussion with you guys because you guys could have a huge impact on this. And let's have an open-ended discussion. Like the people I've talked to, when you really look at the 7 million horses that are in the U.S., there's institutional buyers, and I'd like to become an institutional buyer. What that means is there's some level of like legitimacy behind it where people like my contact get that phone call when somebody dies and there's an estate that owns 200 horses and they need somebody that actually knows how to move 200 horses and pick up 200 horses and sell the best ones privately, drop off, and they go around and they drop off the horses at various places. They might drop off 30 at an auction. They might drop off this and that. There's a huge flow of horses. So I think understanding most of us are just buying horses from Facebook, privately owned horses, one another, but there's a maximum, I mean, and again, there's not good data, but that we all have readily access to, but there is data, if you really know where to look at it, where there's certain institutional buyers that are moving 1,000 horses a week.
So another question to that, would we be better off going to these people that's rescue these horses and try to buy one from there? Like in my area, there's a half a dozen people that rescue horses, and some of them do come from those lots.
Yeah. So I would say buying horses at an auction is a really nice thing to do because there is that risk that, and then if you did buy more than you need, kind of assuming that some of them aren't going to work out, even returning the ones that don't to an auction back to the auction is still better than not even going to the auction in the first place, I would argue. But better yet, the ones that don't work out, you drop them at a rescue.
Yeah, like the Bowie auction for me is maybe 3 hours away.
That same auction that you saw in that video? Yeah. So yeah, you're doing, in my opinion, like a public service by buying there. And then the ones that don't work out, it would be nice if you didn't bring them right back there and drop them at your friend who runs a rescue. Yeah.
I was gonna say, that kind of situation opens up opportunities for a new business that takes those horses and
For sure.
rehabilitate them into
For sure.
business again. So I mean, there's an open opportunity.
For sure. Hoping get some wheels turning here. Okay, go ahead.
I guess I'm curious on that point. How would that be financially feasible? Only because I have a lot of experience in that.
Yeah. So
In my experience, we only lose money if that. Rehabilitation, if it's done correctly, is incredibly time consuming and expensive. And it's kind of like free again. It really doesn't pay for itself, in my experience.
if you're good, you guys should ask David Reichert. David Reichert has bought, ask him how many. Ask him how many horses he buys from Texas auctions. He took a client, and then in his riding school, David's a pretty good rider. He competed in the European Championships at the meter 50 level, which is close to the top of the sport. He's got a beginner riding school. He's huge on implementing a European style horse show association called United Dressage and Jumping Club. That's what he wants to talk about. You can also ask him about how he takes tons of horses from auctions and has now like quite a few tiers of riders, from total beginners to like some pretty good riders in his barn. And he took one of his good riders and he said, we're going to do an experiment. We're going to buy a horse at an auction for like $300 and we're going to sell that horse. And then we're going to take the money and buy another horse and sell. And he played this game of snowball that he was telling me about. Started at 300, don't quote me on the numbers, but in the course of 18 months, he snowballed it into approximately $50,000. He bought a horse for 300, sold it for 600. Bought a horse for 1,000, sold it for 5,000. Bought a horse for 5, sold it for 20. Bought a $20,000 horse and sold it for 50, something like that. So yes, you may not have had that experience, but I would question you not to say, because you didn't have that experience doesn't exist. Because people that are good at that are doing that all the time.
So
Sorry, keep going, Kay.
I was gonna say, so, I mean, to use that example, I mean, you would have to immediately send a horse around and sell it like 2 days later in order to, I mean, that's supposed because you're not putting any cost of, paying.
He included all of his hard costs. He included all of his hard costs, and he claims he's got like a detailed record of his like fun snowball game. But if you have other revenue, it allows you to play a game like that. You know, it's pretty stressful if that's like what you're going to try to pay your mortgage and your family's, you know, grocery bill with. But if you have, you know, a healthy monthly recurring revenue and you want to kind of play a fun game with an extra stall, you know, you don't think so, Kay?
No, because I think I mean, what you said, like, then that's because you're taking some money from your other revenue streams, which means it's not actually, the numbers aren't actually as seen there. You're taking it from your lesson business, for example, or your training business, for example, because, like, well, I gotta put a little in to pay to get this horse to where it needs to be able to sell it. It's not self-sustained. If you're taking from another revenue stream, then it's not self-sustained, it's not exactly, you know, maybe you get lucky once in a while, and it's happened in the past, like more sales, but if you get lucky once in a while, you get one for really cheap, and you're able to find it was a diamond in the rough. But I do think that they are harder to find now, simply because there are more folks like us in this room who are searching for those horses for our schools. So I guess I'm on that struggle bus right now, trying to
Yeah.
find the right lesson horses, without finding, you know, we have a field of horses right now that should have worked out. We haven't been able to find a new home for them because, well, no, they were grown when we got them, or they had issues that were undisclosed, or whatever, and so they're not saleable. You're looking for a
So adding, like, what I think makes sense is I like to make riding lessons on lesson horses and full training clients your core revenue and be profitable with just that. I think adding horse sales as a synergistic component of your riding school will make it healthier. And that horse sales thing, you know, we should talk about where your skill set lies, because that's a big umbrella that could involve just being agent and just making 15% commission, helping other people sell their own horses without taking risk. And it also could include buying and selling horses. I started my career doing that, importing horses. I had $200,000. I went to Europe. I bought horses, came here, sold them for a profit. Buying and selling horses, whether your model is you buy it in auction and then you sell to riding schools for a profit, you buy in Europe and you sell to Americans for a profit, you understand, you know, you buy on Craigslist and you sell on Facebook, so you have some sort of strategy. I'm not saying that everybody should do that. I am saying it's a skill set, and I am saying that our coaching is weak on it's heavy on getting good lesson revenue. It's weak on teaching you guys to get better and better at horse sales.
So you're saying that.
Or actually, let's take a question from you.
Okay, thanks. I just got back from a sale in Missouri, and I sold 2 and bought 1. But the thing about the sales and the new people is they are as crooked. So many
Yeah, that's what Whitney was skeptical about when I told her that we got 2 amazing horses for $8,000. And she's like, it takes a long time for those drugs to wear off. So let's see where we're at in 6 months with those horses.
that have been drugged, even horses,
Does it, how long do the drugs last?
according to what you're using. Up to 30 days. It's a couple days.
Like what drug calms a horse for 30 days? Can you test for that? How long is it traceable?
Usually when it runs off, out. Usually what you do is you put the blood in the freezer, if your veterinarian do that.
Yeah,
And then if you see it starting to wear off, you can test it. But
yeah.
usually it's hard to see anyway, still get the owners to take those horses back.
I don't think they do that though at the slaughter places where you're buying at kill pens because they can't afford to sedate those horses.
Right.
So you buy what you see there.
Cool. All right, guys, thank you for your attention.